Welcome to Kirp Nanalangup, our meeting place by the water. My name is Karen Ho. I'm Executive Director, Policy Planning and Innovation at the Department of Training and Workforce Development. I'm also the Chair of our RAP Steering Committee. We're here to celebrate Naidoc, of course, and to explore this year's theme, Voice, Treaty, Truth. Let's work together for a shared future. I would like to start with an acknowledgement of country. We are hoping that Mrs May Maguire, a Noongar elder, will be able to join us to do Welcome to Country. But can I start by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people as the traditional owners of the land that we meet on today, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And could I extend a very warm welcome to our special guests of honour, the Honourable Ben Wyatt, Treasurer, Minister for Finance, Aboriginal Affairs and Lands, Anne Driscoll, Director General of the Department of Training and Workforce Development, Jodie Cant, Director General of the Department of Finance, Dina Whittaker, representing the Minister for Education and Training, the Honourable Sue Ellery, the Quaba Jukan dance group, which we will see shortly, James Back, the CEO of Reconciliation WA, and we are expecting Tony Hansen as a speaker to come forward too. Thank you very much. It's so wonderful to see so many people joining us today, and we're actually going to move straight through the program to our performance by our Aboriginal dance and singing group, Quaba Juka. So as the group come through, Quaba Jukan have been performing together for around 15 years, and they love to share their culture as they're passionate about their love of Noongar heritage and dance. Many of the original members of the group now have their daughters and nieces performing.
Kaya, Nanmial Jirpin. Hello, nice to see you all here today. Happy Naidoc Week, everybody. We are Kwaba Jukin and Kwabara Kenning Yok Dance Group, and we are very happy to be here to celebrate Naidoc with you guys. So thank you for having us. This year's theme is Voice Treaty Truth, so it's really great. Everybody understanding what that stands for in the room? Yeah. Hearing the voices of Indigenous people, our cause for our treaty, which is very concerning to us, but we do need support on that, and understanding why, most importantly. And truth, of course. Truth is not about hurting people's feelings, it's about knowing what happened, what's come before us, being able to understand it so we all get to understand the questions why again, so we actually grow in our togetherness and being a part of each other holistically and understanding each and every one of where we come from, but also most importantly understanding the journey of the Indigenous people and the adversity that we've risen from with the treatment that we've come from. We're still here and we're still proud and we're still willing to contribute to this country and share our beautiful culture as Australians with all of you guys. So I hope you embrace our culture and love it and take it on board and learn and share, because our journey is about sharing. And the voice part is very important because our culture is a verbal storytelling culture. So we pass on the stories, we keep talking about it, and it's also a very positive way to be, because talking and communicating is a very healthy mechanism and vehicle for all of us today with mental health, and also it keeps us connected. So let's do it all together, everybody. Let's enjoy Naidoc Week, and most importantly, I hope you enjoy our performance today. Looking for bush tucker, we're going to grab our pullamans and we're going to get some bush fruit. Winji miran, jinaning miran, winji miran, jinaning miran, nitja miran, nitja miran. Barangi miran, barangi miran, nitja miran, barangi miran, barangi miran, barangi miran. Nitja miran, barangi miran, nitja miran, barangi miran, barangi miran, barangi miran. Winji miran, jinaning miran, winji miran, jinaning miran, nitja miran, nitja miran. Barangi miran, barangi miran, nitja miran, barangi miran, barangi miran, barangi miran. yoggers. I don't think we have to go out again. They did a really good job. I think there's enough for all of us. But to go with that, we're going to go and get some bush potatoes. Horns, yoggers, digging sticks, please. Born with your barman, born with your barman, ding barman, ding barman. Born with your barman, born with your barman, board and yarning, board and yarning. Ding barman, board and yarning, board and yarning. Born with your barman, born with your barman, born with your barman, born with your barman. Okay, I don't think I mentioned I'm Honey Webb. To start off with, leader of my dance group with Vanessa Parker in the middle there, Kerry Nelson, sorry, I won't worry about last night, it's Kerry Nelson, sorry sister. We've got my daughter Angel at the end there, we got Alice, my niece, Trisha, sister girl, Stella, niece, little Lara here, little cutie, niece, daughter Candace, niece Tiane. So we make up Kwabara Canning Yok and Kabajukan. So sharing our songs and dances is culture. We're telling a story, so we're sharing a little look into the Indigenous lifestyle of our country. So that's what we do. We go to country, we look for fruit, we look for bush tucker, and we look for the area that's appropriate for us. We use our bushes to clear the area, make it a safe spot. We clear the ground so we can read the ground. There's a lot of science to what we do. So I'm really glad to see that our culture is being implemented into the education system, and they're doing a great job of it. So really good job. Lot to celebrate this year with Naidoc. Lots of long journeys coming to getting some results. So really impressed with our Mr. Ken Wyatt, brother boy Ben's brother there, being nominated to be our Aboriginal Affairs Minister. So that's really, really something to celebrate. Yes. So we are going to share a little beautiful dance. It's a Kulunga dance. This is an opportunity where we put our youngest members of our family and dance group, whatever it may be, forward, and we tell the story of our animals. Today we're going to tell the story of the Jitty Jitty. Anyone know what a Jitty Jitty is? Yes. And Wardong. War, war, war. Yes, very good. I love it when people get that hint. Okay, Lara's going to be our little Murray Jitty Jitty, and Alice is going to be the big black crow. Okay, everybody, hope you enjoy. Oh, on that note, we are going to finish off with a Jerpin dance, and yeah, wish you all a very happy Naidoc and a very happy day. Kulunga yen yen, jitty jitty yen yen. Kulunga yen yen, jitty jitty yen yen. Kulunga yen yen, buckerning yen yen, buckerning yen yen, buckerning yen yen. Kulunga yen yen, jitty jitty yen yen. Kulunga yen yen, jitty jitty yen yen. Kulunga yen yen, buckerning yen yen, buckerning yen yen, buckerning yen yen. cooling ballet, jitty jitty war dong cooling ballet, jitty jitty daring bow, daring bow, daring bow, daring bow. War dong cooling ballet, jitty jitty war dong cooling ballet, jitty jitty daring bow, daring bow, daring bow, daring bow. Jitty 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 jitty. Hey! Can't miss out Ninja. That was first time Lara's dancing on her own in Jitty Jitty. So great job, Lara. Now, we can't miss out Ninja because I wrote the song. But also, most importantly, it's very catchy, it's getting around. A friend of mine named Jane Nicholas has been sharing this song to everybody through the education department. She's gone to other states and other Indigenous groups wanting to translate the song because it means so much in their language, which just makes my heart melt, makes me have emu bumps, and makes me very Morich and proud. So the song is Nidja, this is Nyunga, people of the country, Budja, our country, and court. So I think it speaks for itself, how much we love our country and where we come from. I think everyone can identify with that. So please, if you get the tune into your tongue and mouth, sing with us and clap along. And then we will finish with our Jerpin dance. Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja, Budja Court, Budja Court, Budja Court. Please clap. Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja Court. Now I forgot singing. Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja, Budja Court, Budja Court, Budja Court. A little bit faster, people. Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, hey! Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja, Budja Court, Budja Court, Budja Court. Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, hey! Nidja Nyunga Budja Court, Nidja Nyunga Budja, Budja Court, Budja Court, Budja Court, hey! Thank you everybody for being such an amazing audience and good looking.
Thank you. Cool. Quaba Jukin, Woodage job. Yeah? Okay. Can I now invite the Honourable Ben White to address the audience?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Can I also acknowledge the Noongar people, their elders past and present? Can I thank the dancers? Honey Webb, you wouldn't have picked up from her smile and generosity this today, but she's also a very mean basketball coach. My daughter plays with young Alice, who danced the crow. Alice is one of them. Spectacular basketball player, actually. I think she's got a big future in basketball ahead of her. To Jodie Cant and to Anne Driscoll, thank you very much for inviting me here. To James, good to see you. CEO of Reconciliation WA. Everybody, thanks for coming. Naidoc has become an enormous event in the last decade, I guess. When I think back when I was at school, I guess, or even more recently, Naidoc really didn't feature terribly prominently in the celebration of Aboriginal culture, but it has now become one of the signature weeks for Aboriginal people around Australia, whether it be through dancing performances like we saw just now, through schools that seem to have a never-ending supply of celebrations and acknowledgements, and now obviously through government agencies that have taken it upon themselves to understand the important leadership role that you all have in regards to this long journey of reconciliation that we have with our Aboriginal people. The theme each year is particularly relevant to what issues happen to be facing Aboriginal people that year, and it's very much focused around this year, of course. Voice, Treaty, Truth has more than other years, to be honest, a political tinge to it, of course. Aboriginal people have been talking around and talking about and advocating for a treaty, for a voice to Parliament, for as long as I've been alive. And as we get closer and closer, the journey is never easy and there are setbacks along the way, but the Uluru Statement has meant that Aboriginal people now have been officially asked the question: how do we see a voice being implemented? How do we see Aboriginal people being recognised in our Australian discourse? And they've responded with the Uluru Statement, and Naidoc has responded as a result by saying these are issues of incredible importance to Aboriginal people. And I expect that the debate will continue, but I'm also very hopeful. As Honey pointed out, I have great hopes in Ken. Not just because he's a Wyatt, but because I think he does have a very firm view of advancing this debate over the next 3 years, and I sincerely hope that he does. The third component, of course, truth, is something that each of us in this room will, I hope over this week, learn more about. This morning I was at the State Archives going through the original occurrence books for Rottnest Island. These are as Aboriginal people came onto Rottnest Island as prisoners. They were effectively signed in, and these are the original books. And they are an incredible story of incredible history of Western Australia, because of course in the early days, as you read through the names, inevitably they were coming from just north of Perth. But as the colonial frontier moved further north, the Aboriginal people who came to Rottnest Island, you can see they're coming from Gascoyne, Murchison, Pilbara, and then eventually into the Kimberley as the frontier certainly reached to the far north of Western Australia. But what is extraordinary in these historical documents that we have, and they're unbelievable actually, is that when people were fortunate enough to leave Rottnest, if they weren't buried there, they weren't really ever released from the efforts that government went to keep an eye on where exactly they went, and they were often released into private companies who are doing oil expeditions or other pastoral care, if you like, and continued to work, of course, back then for no pay, until really their lives were, until they died at the end of their lives, often not on country. And those decisions that and impacts of government way back then is still having, of course, an impact on us today, and we deal with those consequences. But that truth, that history, is something that's so important that we continue to tell and understand. We'll also be releasing very shortly something that I think schools of Western Australia will be very interested in, and that is it will be. Sorry, it's hard to, I guess, launch a website. Won't be cutting a ribbon. It's just goes live, I guess. I haven't really thought about it, but a website that will have on it a map of not just the Perth CBD, but broader of significant areas and locations to the Noongar people, and with their with obviously proper names. Of course, Aboriginal people, when they name locations or areas, it's not so much as that European style back in those days where they'll travel to Western Australia or Australia, see things that they liked and probably named them after themselves. Aboriginal people naming was about story and journey and why locations were significant to Aboriginal people and the broader group. And you'll be able to see that online, you'll be able to click on that online. We intend it to be a live site so Aboriginal people can put in input about why those locations are important to them. And this is something I'm very, very keen to see more of. The New Zealanders do this really well. I'd like to think Australians, we can get better at understanding that where we live and places that we name have, of course, previous names for very, very often very different reasons. So can I thank you all for coming. Naidoc is such a great event. As I said, it's such a positive celebration of Aboriginal culture and the relationships that we are developing, particularly between governments and Aboriginal people. And there is now very much a determination, as you have leaders like Honey that you heard today and others determined that the Aboriginal voice will continue to be advanced. The treaty conversation will continue to be advanced because Aboriginal people make it very clear that that sovereignty was never ceded, and ultimately the truth around our long-term relationship with Aboriginal people. So have a wonderful Naidoc week. Hopefully you get to do some things outside of work with Naidoc as well. And finally, can I thank you what you all do in your efforts as public servants for Western Australia. One thing I'm always impressed by in the short time I've been a minister is the quality of our public sector is quite extraordinary, and there's not a minister, regardless of their political stripe, who doesn't value the advice that we receive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. It's a real privilege to have you with us. We really appreciate it. Firstly, Kaya Wunju Nunakut. Hello and welcome, everyone. On behalf of the Department of Finance and Jodie Cant, your Director General, and of course the Department of Training Workforce Development, I'm sure you join us all in respectfully acknowledging the past and present traditional owners. Indeed, as I speak, we have the opportunity to be formally welcomed. I'm wondering whether we might invite May Maguire to join us and welcome us today. No? We're very demanding, aren't we? We don't give you a break. Thank you so much for coming today.
You're welcome.
And we appreciate it. I'm Anne. But
okay.
that's because I'm sort of jumping the queue a bit. So we're very pleased to have you here, May.
Okay.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks very much.
Now let me just check that these are low enough.
These things, yes, I'll need it for my throat today.
Can I get you some water as well?
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Anne, for that. Oh, we'll have a drink. Sorry to keep you all waiting. I'm sorry I missed the girls. Got the last little dance of theirs. It was quite lovely. And I have been at one of the welcomes in town just a while ago and had to rush out here. So once again, kaya yarn bayaks, moms, ngan Europe ni yagin wagin, nunak ni wajak buja. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to be standing here and welcoming you to the lands of the Noongar people in the Wajak district. Kura ngala dimanga mamanga nyin bar ni ngala buja. long before the tall ships came here, my ancestors lived throughout this district, from the Guildford area, Mundaring, and old man Mundy was my great-great-grandfather, my grandmother's great pop, and I'm proud to be a descendant of that dear old man, and my nana and grandmother. Mundy Lake, I suppose a lot of you know about that place, and it was named after the old man himself. And throughout this area here, and further up the track is called Mora. Many of our people lived along out this way as well. So I'm proud to be a Noongar woman. And our theme this year is about voices. Our voices, to carry on, to join with your voices and making our language known and heard, and to teach each other our languages as well as you teach us your language. We can speak the language now, but when it comes to proper English, they get the flash way of talking. It's a bit tough in that area. You've got to know all the P's and Q's. It's been a wonderful 2 days so far. I hope you all enjoy our Naidoc celebrations. There's a great big day on Ashfield Reserve at Ashfield on Thursday. It starts at 10 o'clock, and that's where you'll see a lot of things that's happening with our people down there. Different organisations will have their little displays and stuffs out there down that area. And with our mob, with welcomes is a very sacred thing that was done way back in the past with our people. And it was done with our men folk. So our men folk, it wasn't to do with us and women. Our men folk would carry the message sticks to different tribes to say there's going to be a corroboree, or there's going to be a big celebration, or can we enter your community? And there is always someone to take the message back to that tribe and say yes or no. And that was in those days. It still happens today. Today we pick up the old telephone and messages get through that way. Or we call it the Noongar grapevine. It's always, tell him there and he'll send it on further. So all those things are coming to a head now, and our people had those things. It still happens. It still happens today that our people keep those things sacred. And it's a lovely, our culture is a beautiful culture, a beautiful culture. We've lived it, I've lived it from grassroots up, from down on the ground. We brought things out of the earth, sat down and told our stories and wrote our stories in the ground, and didn't have papers to write on and to read on and things like that. And my nanas used to give us all those beautiful stories to us by ear, by mouth, and write it in the sand. And we had to remember all of those things, and to pass it on to our children. And our children's got that as well now, strong. My children, I know that. They're all out doing business too, as well as myself. And when I say business, I mean doing the language, teaching the walk and the talk in our culture. So once again, I'd like to say thank you to I don't know how you say that. Skip? Naidoc? They got it right. Okay, so I'm not too bad on the Aboriginal words. Thank yous for having me here today, and pray that everybody will enjoy the rest of the week, because the rest of the week is going to have a lot of lovely things happening throughout the week and throughout the communities. So, Michelle, wherever you are, well, you're there. Thank you for having me, love. I was trying to find your phone number in the phone today to get the address properly. I couldn't find it, and then you rang up. I said, oh, she must have read my thoughts. So, yeah, once again, thank you very much, my dear, for having us here, and thanks to the Naidoc, for having me here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, May, for that very warm welcome. I'm not sure about anyone else, but I always find it quite spine-tingling when you use language. We envision ourselves being here for the first time, and really value and appreciative of the warm and generous welcome that you extend to us. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. As I mentioned before, on behalf of Jody, might I, with Jody, welcome everyone. It's delightful to see so many people here today. And may I particularly thank those who comprise our Naidoc committee for yet another fabulous event. And it's testament to the department and its people that we have so many people here today. So thank you so much. I always find events that relate to our Aboriginal partners, our true traditional owners of this land, a very emotional event. And so please forgive me, but I'm actually going to read the speech today because I find I don't trust myself. I'm not very good at reading speeches. Usually I will talk to the issues with just a few points, but it's too important to get it wrong. So thank you. As I mentioned before, welcome Minister Wyatt. It's fantastic that you're here today. As mentioned by May, and I'm not sure I actually formally acknowledged the traditional owners of this land myself, and on behalf of all of us, we acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. During my first Naidoc week 2 years ago, and I was very new to this agency, that was where we named this lovely meeting place, Kirraup Naidoc, the meeting place by the water. And as I mentioned last year, for me, every time we use that term, one looks out to this amazingly abundant, beautiful land, and we're so grateful to have it with us and to have this name that reminds us of why we're here and who are the traditional owners, and its rich history here as well. Indeed, to further extend that commitment, it's our intention to further celebrate traditional language, and we will be renaming our meeting rooms on levels 2 and 3 with a chosen theme in the Noongar language. Can I add that as part of that, we've recently purchased a painting from Auntie Sheila Humphreys, which we'll be unveiling as we name these rooms on those floors. Excuse me. Auntie Sheila provided us with a really moving insight of her time at New Northia as part of our reconciliation event a couple of months ago. And I think it'll serve as a reminder of her story and the rather disturbing story that she shared with us and of what others have endured. The Department of Training and Workforce Development is privileged but also has a significant burden in ensuring that it does its absolute utmost to support Aboriginal people gain qualifications that empower them in every way. In particular, vocational skills qualifications can of course lead to great jobs and great futures. In 2018, 2.25 million hours of publicly funded VET was delivered to Aboriginal West Australians. More meaningfully, perhaps, that represents 7.6%, so 7.6% of all publicly funded delivery. You'll appreciate that that measures up pretty well when we know that Aboriginal people comprise about 3.8% of the population. So basically, we're doubling the representation in education in the VET sector in comparison to the other populations. Over the last 12 months has been significant too in rolling out the jobs and skills centres across 13 different TAFE sites. This was a government initiative, but it's about making sure that information about jobs and careers is localised for people across the metro area and across the regions. In addition to that 13, there are 53 satellite or outreach locations. So overall about 66 different locations where services are available. For us, it's absolutely essential that Aboriginal clients in particular are foremost in our efforts to connect on the ground and locally. As part of this, some of our own departmental Aboriginal staff who previously worked with the AWDCs, the Aboriginal Workforce Development Centres, have transferred to TAFE. It was in some ways a bit heart-wrenching to lose our own staff, but of course what is fantastic is to see the fabulous engagement on the ground at local TAFEs and in the outreach services. However, notwithstanding all of this, we recognise the importance of making sure that all of the jobs and skills centres retain an important central focus on Aboriginal people. It's now a generic service at one sense, but we need to make sure that within that there's still an absolute dedicated focus on supporting Aboriginal people. A sign that that's going well so far, but we're committed to keep hammering that support, is the Aboriginal Services Jobs Board, which provides links to Aboriginal people only in terms of jobs, had 4,900 jobs advertised in the last year. One really lovely story about connecting with the local community is we're looking to open a new TAFE at Esperance. And wherever possible, the department and TAFE colleges look to consult with local communities. At the moment, we're basically working with the local Dullurak Native Title Corporation, including elders, to consult on how the new campus facilities might be more welcoming to Aboriginal people and to make sure that the kinds of training programs we offer are likely to attract and retain local people. An active part of that has been representatives of the community walking the site with an ethnologist and an anthropologist to identify key features and heritage aspects of the site to ensure they're identified and they're also not disturbed through the development of this site and its buildings, so that people do feel truly welcome. I might add that a lot of work's been done over the last year to do detailed analyses by each region of what the employment needs are within that region, with a particular focus on opportunities to ensure that Aboriginal people locally can be trained in the skills that are actually needed in each community. And of course, in particular, allied health and social assistance is an area that's emerging as important to support people as they age. In talking about achievements, can I particularly also congratulate the Department of Finance in implementing the state government Aboriginal procurement policy. We heard about that before. It became effective in July last year. As you know, the aim of this is to ensure that 3% of government contracts greater than $50,000 go to registered Aboriginal corporations. The target for this first year is 1%, and I'm sure DOF is performing extraordinarily well, and DTWD is coming along behind, probably doesn't have the purchasing power that you do, but certainly is actively seeking out where it can to track, and is on track to reach the milestone. And I know you guys are well and truly on track as well. What we've found is that often means that we need to be quite critical in analysing how and what we're looking to purchase, and maybe sort of packing it and maybe splitting it up so we can locate activities and services that might be available through Aboriginal corporations. As the Department of Finance continues to do a lot of work on its Aboriginal employment strategy, so does Department of Training and Workforce Development, with many initiatives, including our RAP. For DTWD, we're about to commit, we already have committed, we're about to work on developing a new stretch RAP for 2020 to 23 to further embed reconciliation throughout the organisation. We're equally proud of our involvement in the wider community, and in particular supporting the Deadly Jobs Expo, as May mentioned earlier. We very much are active players in that, and will be present on Thursday, presenting the jobs, Deadly Jobs Expo in that forum. Look, both of our agencies employ a number of Aboriginal people. In the case of DTWD, as I said, we did actually lose some of our staff, and we've been working intensively to ensure our representation within the department is rejuvenated with the transfer of staff to the TAFEs. And can I say again, we've made some really great inroads. We will almost, just a minor percent or 0.5% or a tiny percent off having our proper sort of, I guess, alignment, but of course we'll be looking to move and do much more than that. I wanted, though, to particularly acknowledge both within the Department of Finance and also within the Department of Training and Workforce Development, our Aboriginal people and their commitment to our work and also their people. They make a fabulous contribution to our workforces, to our productivity, but in assisting us to understand and appreciate the Aboriginal culture. I encourage all employees to learn more about languages over the coming week, and all of the celebrations that happen at so many levels, be it local government or some of the major events. So please feel able to participate in those events. I might also thank Karen Ho, our MC today, for being a real leader, both in terms of today, but for the many, many contributions over many years to make sure the voice of Aboriginal people is heard, both in terms of events like these, but also in the broader investment in education and fulfilment. So thank you, everybody, and I look forward to the further discussions today. Thank you.
We did have a Dampier baking competition with some fantastic people participating. I have, I think, to announce the winner. On the side, to the right, in the bag. Sorry. Oh. Oh. Do you want to pass it to me, Michelle? Oh. Okay. The winner is Tegan from the Department of Finance. Tegan made a maple syrup damper, fantastic, and there is a little prize here. Okay, thanks to our judges, Taylor, Kim and Lara, for that competition. Our Naidoc organising committee, chaired by Michelle MacArthur, did a fantastic job today in setting up the room, and it's really important that you have a look around at the opportunities that are here before you take off. So there are opportunities to learn. We have very valuable Aboriginal artefacts. We have bush tucker and the tastes here in this corner, and people have made cakes to demonstrate some of those tastes. We have the Uluru Statement, and as James says, there's an opportunity for you to activate that on your social media, and you can also sign your commitment to the treaty, and that is going to be hung up here. So if you are moved to do those things, please take advantage of what this room has for you this afternoon. We also have two fantastic Aboriginal businesses that have provided us with afternoon tea, Mocha Baby Cakes and Kudich Kitchen, and I'd like to invite you all to stay for afternoon tea. Can we just finish by thanking the organising committee and all of our guest speakers today.